Athletics, Todd Stewart. He'll begin with an opening statement, and then we'll take your questions.
Thank you, Kyle. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here. Yesterday evening, Willie Taggart informed me that he had offered and accepted the head coaching position at the University of South Florida. He said he felt it was the right move for him and his family, and that it presented an opportunity for him that he could not turn down. Obviously, we are very disappointed that Coach Taggart will no longer be our head football coach. He did a tremendous job for WKU, inheriting a program with a 20-game losing streak before posting back-to-back 7-5 records in his second and third seasons. This year, we had a landmark win in Lexington over the University of Kentucky, and we were the only Sun Belt Conference school to defeat Arkansas State. And as everyone knows, this past Sunday, our program earned our first ever bowl appearance as a Football Bowl subdivision member. We also had the highest single game attendance average in our program's 94-year history, including the two largest single game crowds. You cannot overstate the positive impact Coach Taggart had on our football program, athletic department, and university. He is an outstanding football coach and an even better person. And I know Hilltopper fans join me in wishing him and his family great success in his new endeavor at the University of South Florida. I want our fans to know we made every effort to retain Coach Taggart as our head coach. I initially met with him during our bye week in early October and told him we had raised sufficient private funds to offer him a package that could make him the highest paid coach in the Sun Belt Conference. He felt announcing a new contract during the season would be a distraction to the team and wanted to keep the focus on football. We respected that decision and mutually agreed to wait until the end of the regular season to discuss a new contract. This past week, we again extended a term sheet that offered him a contract that would enable him to become the highest paid coach in our conference. We were proactive and thorough in our efforts to retain him, and I sincerely thank those individuals that pledged their support to this football program and helped make those efforts possible. Moving forward, our program has a bowl game to prepare for. Thus, we have named Lance Guidry interim head coach, and Lance has assumed all responsibilities related to our team's preparations for the Little Caesars Pizza Bowl. I met with Coach Guidry along with our assistant coaches and support staff at 9 a.m. this morning. Then Coach Guidry and I met with our players at 9:30. Following the completion of this news conference, Coach Guidry and our captains, Jack Doyle and Jamarcus Allen, will be available in this room. I have total confidence in Lance's ability to prepare and lead our team. And as the interim head coach of Miami of Ohio, he led the Redhawks to a 35-21 win over Middle Tennessee in the 2011 GoDaddy.com Bowl. I also encourage the Hilltopper Nation to rally around our football team. They need you now more than ever as they aim to capture a historic bowl victory. Our search to identify and hire Western Kentucky's next head football coach has begun. This individual will have winning experience, strong recruiting skills, a history of player development, and must be active in our community. Coach Taggart often said, when someone leaves, it gives us an opportunity to get better. I am confident we will hire an outstanding head coach who will continue our program's upward climb. We have accomplished much in the last 3 seasons, but by no means have we approached the ceiling of what this program can achieve. Our goals remain the same, our mission will not waver, and there is every reason to believe that the best days for WKU football lay ahead. I will now be happy to take your questions.
You guys could, if you'd raise your hand if you have a question, and Jeremy will bring you the microphone.
Todd, do you feel, Willie went about this the right way in terms of being honest with his team and the community?
I do. I mean, he and I have a great relationship and had great dialogue. And these things happen fast. You know, if you look around the country, I mean, you look at the Tennessee situation with Butch Jones, I mean, these things tend to happen very fast. And he and I have had constant dialogue through the whole thing. And I'm very comfortable with the way he went about it.
Obviously, you had heard all the chatter throughout the week, but last night when he told you he was offered, were you caught off guard?
Not really. I think just because you have to look around at the landscape and you know, I was optimistic that he would stay here because of the financial package that we could offer him. And because, as he frequently has said, WKU is in his DNA. So to me, those two things were important. He loves this place, everybody knows that. And we, after more than doubling his salary a year ago, were prepared to offer him, you know, a much better contract than he even had this year. So I was hopeful and optimistic that that would be enough to keep him. But obviously, in this particular situation, there are some ties to Florida that obviously weighed heavily into the situation, and you know, that probably is what ultimately was too much to overcome.
We kind of got an idea on Twitter and all that, but what's the players' reaction right now?
Well, you know, our players, you know, life is interesting in that it throws you curveballs and it throws you challenges, and as you all know, you deal with adversity all the time, and you never really know when it's going to come up. And this group of guys on our team, particularly our upperclassmen, have been through a tremendous amount of adversity. And so while that was difficult at the time, I think that's prepared them for this now. It's not like this is the first tough thing that's happened to them. It's been the hallmark of their career, really, is dealing with tough things. They're disappointed personally because they have so much respect for Coach Taggart. But it's a strong group. It's a very strong group. The team meeting this morning, to me, was extremely encouraging. Just looking around the room, seeing the eye contact, seeing the body language, and then Coach Guidry addressed the team, and guys were very attentive and fired up. And I'm very confident that, you know, despite their disappointment in losing Coach Taggart, that everything else remains the same, and that focus that we need for this bowl game will remain, and we'll have 2 good weeks of practice and represent very well in Detroit.
What kind of time frame is there on hiring a new coach?
Well, the bottom line is we will identify and hire the best person to lead this program forward so that we can continue that upward climb. There's not really a specific time frame. You know, once we identify and hire that person, then we'll announce it. But the important thing is to hire the right person. And the important thing is to get the right person in place here so that we do not take a step back, and that we actually take more steps forward.
Would I be right in saying money was not as big a factor as maybe some other things?
Well, when he and I talked last night, the last conversation that we had, he told me that it wasn't. He told me that the South Florida job was one that he had always been intrigued by, you know, having grown up in that area.
Just so to get the time frame right, when was it when he talked to you? Was it after their practice last night, or was it before that?
No, it was after. It was probably, we talked probably the first time about 6 o'clock, and then he needed to make a few phone calls, and met with his wife, and then we talked again after that, and we talked for the final time about 7 o'clock, and then he addressed the team shortly after that. And you know, it's tough because you hate to lose a head coach who's successful, but you know, the Big Ten champion just lost their head coach. And that's just the college football world that we live in. It's not something that's only Western Kentucky's dealing with. You know, Arkansas State in our conference has lost their head coach each of the last 2 years. Northern Illinois is in the Orange Bowl. They're losing their head coach. Last year, Southern Miss, Toledo, and Houston lost their head coach. It's just the reality of college football. It happens across the country in every league, and it's not something just that we're dealing with. But I'm confident that where we are as a program and what we offer with our history, our tradition, our facilities, and the improvement we've made in the last 3 years, we will definitely hire a great coach, and my intention is for us not to miss a beat.
I know you said you mentioned a financial package in October, but at what point in the past did you, I guess, start to really feel that his name was gaining steam in the coaching realm, and that something might have to be addressed in that way?
Well, it's kind of been all season long, you know. I mean, it started early in the year after we beat Kentucky and Southern Miss. You know, you had a lot of national media speculating that he would be a hot commodity for some of the jobs that opened up, and then we slumped a little bit, and then that tailed off a little bit. But I think people respect the overall body of work, you know, and what he inherited. And you know, it's like I said Sunday night, I think really the best way to measure anything is you ask yourself, are we better today than we were a year ago? And each of the 3 years he's been here, the answer is yes. And I think people notice that. And South Florida made a great hire. They got a great person, they got a great family man, a great husband, a great father, and I'm sure he'll do a great job there.
In terms of the search, I mean, would you describe it as national in scope, and also of all of these things, how much would previous ties to Western play in?
Well, you know, not to be redundant, we'll hire, the person we hire will be the one that we are convinced is the best person to lead our program forward. And so I don't want to insinuate that any specific criteria is more helpful or hurtful than anything else. There's a lot of different routes you can go. There's a lot of very good candidates out there, some of whom actually called me last week, believe it or not, because people realize what may happen. I mean, that's just the world we live in. So we were prepared for this. I think every athletic director in the country has a short list of people that he or she may need to go to. Certainly we had that as well. So we're prepared to move forward, and we'll do our due diligence and talk to whoever we need to talk to, but ultimately do what's best for Western Kentucky University.
Anything else from you guys?
Thanks.
Thanks, guys, and thanks for your patience through all this.